Welcome back, and to shed more light on the current situation in the Middle East and the Israeli genocide war in Gaza, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meliegi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you have enjoyed a happy Eid, and we all hope that it's going to be a happy Eid also for our Palestinian brothers in the enclave. But unfortunately, what's going on is saying that the Israeli occupation intends to continue what they have started nearly 7 months ago, or the genocide war which entered its 7 months to be accurate. But now there are many other dangers lying in the Tehran issue. How do you see the now exchanging threats between Iran and Israel, and to be accurate, between Iran and the United States and Israel, as Biden said it, that he knew that Iran is going to launch an attack on Israel sooner or later?
Well, actually, I mean, the American president is not far from the truth. We are all expecting any movement from Iran very soon. I hope that they are not they are clever to see the situation. Actually, this was the aim of Israel from the beginning of this war several months ago. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, it's actually not the war, the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. But to be more accurate, the implication of Iran and maybe other forces, if possible, was the aim of Israel from the beginning to secure two things. Mm-hmm. First of all, that this is going to be a large-scale war, or at least larger than just a war between Israel and the Palestinians. It's going to be larger than that, since Iran has many proxies in the area, mm-hmm. in Lebanon and in Syria and elsewhere.
Iraq, Yemen, you name it.
Exactly. So mm-hmm. This is the first danger that is lying there, and the second is that by this movement, which Israel actually is trying to provoke from the beginning of the war, because if we all know that it all started when they attacked the Iranian embassy in Damascus, mm-hmm. which was the target. I mean, if they like always to start the war by saying that the current war started the 7th of October because of the Hamas attack. Yeah. So this war, if it's going to happen, and I hope, as I said from the beginning, that the Iranians are going to be smarter than the American expectations, and they will not actually target any Israeli targets to achieve Israel's goal to enlarge the scope of the war. Mm-hmm. So we hope that they will be smart enough not to attack at the current moment, because this will actually serve Israel by enlarging the scope of the war.
And will include the United States in a very direct manner, because
no, actually, this is what they want. They want the Americans to be part of the next movement, and this is what they have always aimed at. We have always known and seen that there is an unconditional American support to Israel, and actually, if you have seen even what the messages of Mr. Blinken with His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, yesterday, when he said that he is not encouraging at all any movement of Israel into Rafah, any ground operation. However, what we've heard from President Blinken himself, that he is not in favor of a large-scale operation in Rafah, which means that a limited operation in Rafah is acceptable by the United States.
Yes.
So actually, we are seeing like a mixed messages between the President of the United States and the State Department, which is represented by Minister Blinken, saying that he is not in favor of any movement, of any aerial movement, in any ground movement in Rafah. But this is not the main concern. As you mentioned it in your report earlier, that Iran is the main player now, and if they will take the bait, then Iran is going to be implicated, and thus many Arab countries are going to be implicated as well. Mm-hmm. As you said, it's Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and many others could be implicated in this bloody war. And this is exactly what Israel has been wanting from the beginning, to show the rest of the world who is in its side that it's living in a very hostile environment against it, which is such a peaceful country who wants to achieve peace, but unfortunately the Arab neighbors doesn't want Israel to live in peace, and this is exactly their goal. So I hope the Iranian will not take the bait and that we will not see any movement from Iran, at least not before we settle the whole Palestinian issue that is going to be englobed in a larger scope war in the region. And this is exactly the Israeli target from the beginning, and we are declaring it. So I hope that they are listening to what we are saying here by not taking the bait.
If you permit me, sir, I have two additions here to add to what you have just said, to look at the situation from a broader scope or from a panoramic view, as we say it. We should add what was said in this encounter between Gallant, the Israeli defense minister, and his American counterpart, when he said that America and Israel are shoulder to shoulder. And they are going to continue to be like that, even if there are some differences. This is exactly what he said in the Israeli war, genocide war in Gaza. And number two is the Iraqi Prime Minister visit to Washington, which started today, or at least he left Baghdad to Washington today. And I think one of the most important files which are going to be discussed is that file you've kindly mentioned, to enlarge the scope of tension or violence or struggle, as you name it. And this is going to include in a direct manner some of the Arab nations, including Iraq, as Iran has its hands there. How do you see those two issues?
Well, first of all, we have to understand totally that any diversion of points of view between Israel and the United States does not mean at any point that the strategic alliance between the two countries are in danger in any way. Mm-hmm. There are differences in opinions, but the targets are still the same.
Yep.
Both are having the same targets, which is having a divided Arab nation, a Middle East that is in turmoil, and that the United States is the savior for this Middle East countries, all these countries, and so on. Mm-hmm. And the unconditional support to Israel due to the strong presence of the Jewish lobby in the United States, especially at this year of election, and that any candidate who is seeking either to renew his place in the White House or a new president who wants to enter the White House, both of them has to secure the votes of the Jewish lobby. Mm-hmm. So accordingly, this is the main thing. So they will not risk it for any of what we call principles of the region. Mm-hmm. The two-state solution is there. I mean, the United States and both presidents, actually, whether we are talking about the current president or the candidate, both of them are in favor of a two-state solution. But what kind of state is it? I mean, we have seen that, we've heard the reports about how to recognize a Palestinian state within the United Nations that is going through a hard time due to the objection of the United States. And why does the United States object to that? Simply because Israel doesn't want it. So the United States will never approve of a Palestinian state if Israel doesn't approve of one. And that's the main thing. Once again, we see the unconditional support of Israel. The second, if we are having a visit or any kind of dialogue between any Arab country that is related to Iran and the United States, it's just to assure that this country or that country will not be a target for any American movement or any Israeli movement at this point. And the only way to see this not happening, at least not at this phase, is by making sure that Iran, as I said it before, will not take the bait and attack any Israeli target, directly or indirectly. This is not the moment, this is not the time, and we have to...
Yes, amen to that, sir. But Hussein Amir Abdullahian, the Iranian top diplomat or foreign minister, said it, that we do not seek to enter the conflict, but we will, or it's we have no choice but to answer the attack on the Iranian diplomatic mission in Damascus, which killed 7 of its revolutionary guards, including 2 generals. I don't think that this is something
we totally
they will
understand
keep
that
silent.
the Iranian will retaliate at a certain point. What I'm objecting to is the retaliation shouldn't take place now. This is the worst moment. This is when Israel is totally confused and doesn't know if it should enter Rafah at this moment.
So
or
in your
wait
opinion,
a little bit
sir,
longer.
it's the timing.
So by any Iranian movement, this will facilitate the Israeli movements to Rafah and to other targets as well. What I want is to try to put Israel in its place, not to take away the right of retaliation from the Iranian, because what happened was a clear provocation from Israel, and this is the aim of it. The aim of it is to implicate Iran. So if
So,
Iran
sir,
will be
what you're
implicated, they are
saying,
going exactly to fulfill the Israeli
yeah.
wish.
So
And
what
this
you're
is what
saying
we
is that
hope
you
that they will
want
not
Iran
do.
to be smart enough not to be dragged into the Israeli trick or into the
Exactly.
Israeli provocation. Okay, let's
Exactly.
move to another point, if you permit me, because yesterday there was a very important press conference which took place in Norway, where Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, along with his Norwegian counterpart, Johan Støre, when they said that Norway is ready to admit or to confess that an independent Palestinian state. There was a tour by Sanchez moving from a European country to the other to encourage many countries to admit that there is Palestine in the first place. And this was not the first time, by the way. In another EU, or on the sidelines of another EU summit, there were many activities from the Spanish side, which with Ireland, with Malta, as far as I remember, and now Norway, in addition to Spain. How do you see this move? Is it something which is going to make or to result in more pressure on Israel with this admission, with those European countries saying that they do now confess or admit or say that there is Palestine on the ground as an independent state?
Well, Palestine is already, the way I see it, and this does not force anyone to adopt the same point of view. Palestine is here, and it's here to stay, and it's here to remain. The idea of having more recognition, it's already recognized as an observer in the United Nations. The idea of a full-fledged country, although it might seem something very important, but I don't think it's the top priority right now. It's once again, as I said it before, it's aiming to deviate our vision from the main target. The main target is to spare the Palestinian life. That's the first thing. And to restore peace in Gaza and also in the West Bank. And after that, we can start negotiating about the two-state solution, and then it's going to be recognized by itself. There is a juridical point and problem here, which is where is the borders of this country? Israel did not, until today, although it has proclaimed its independence since 1948, does not have a clear borderline. And that's why we all are asking ourselves, where are the Israeli lines when they said that the Palestinian or the Palestinian liberation movements, such as Hamas and others, have attacked Israel's borders? Where are these borders that Hamas have attacked? That's the first thing. So the idea of proclaiming an independent Palestinian state and recognize it, and then on which soil exactly are we talking about? So there is a juridical problem here about recognizing this state, and I believe that it is not the best timing. The best timing is after we end war and the current genocide. I don't want the Arab countries and the Middle East countries to be dragged into a trick once again to negotiate something that will not actually interest the Palestinian in any way if they do so. The idea is to spare their lives. That's my first priority. And then we end this and start talking about peace and state solution. Once we achieve this, everyone's going to recognize the Palestinian state. Let's not forget
Let's
that
wait and
in
see,
order
and let's
to
cross our
achieve
fingers
goals,
that
we have to go through
yeah.
the Council and the Security Council. The United States will never permit to say on since Israel did not accept this at this point, so the United States will veto it. So we are going to take this again to the General Assembly, which will once again recognize Palestine as it's done before, but without real board. So the idea of better admission of Palestine is not the best thing right now. The best thing right now is to and to deter Israel buying into with a land operation, a ground operation that has 1.5 million Palestinians stranded this area in Gaza. what is immediate
ceasefire to
in
save
Gaza
wars.
and
Amen to that, sir.
the
Yeah.
return of from
Refugees
south
or
of Gaza to
now
all of
became
Gaza where
homeless,
they have lived, whether
unfortunately.
we are talking about
Yeah.
central or northern Gaza.
Yep.
This is the first priority. I'm not the least concerned about recognizing a Palestinian independent state by the world community if we do not have this country or so-called
I
country on
agree
it right
that
now.
saving Palestinian lives is priority. Ambassador Meliegi, thank you very much for your intervention.